Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. They're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it, or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering.
That was Bill Gates in an interview with Bloomberg News. And he was talking about the great advantages and potential of Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Now, Bill Gates is the richest person in the world. And when he wants to make a transaction between him and another business person anywhere in the world, or between Microsoft and another business person in the world, those costs, those transactions are a problem even for these major corporations. And now today, coming out of Microsoft's New York City demo day, we see titans of industry working with Ethereum to bring the digital technology and cryptocurrency from the digital street to Main Street. Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, we're minting coins. What we're seeing and what we're experiencing with Bitcoin and blockchain technology is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of people are giving conflicting information, and it makes it really difficult for us to know what is truth. And at the same time that we're all searching for answers and everyone has lots of different opinions, what we see is a lot of news and a lot of facts and a lot of information coming out that can point us in the direction of what is truth for ourselves and for our communities and for our families. If we look at history, we can see that there's a lot of similarities in the blockchain industry as there was with the internet back in the 90s. And what we saw in the 90s was this little company really make even more headway in the internet industry and the computer industry, and the name of that company was, of course, Microsoft, created by Bill Gates. And we look around today and we see that the Microsoft software is incorporated in every single computer and every single server that's affecting every single person in every single country across the world. Microsoft understood the computers, they understood the internet, they understood that what they wanted to do was to make it easy and to make it simple to connect people and information together. And what we see coming out of the news today is a continuation of Microsoft's vision, a continuation of the investment from the company Microsoft into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, into blockchain technology, continuing what they've always done to create the infrastructure for businesses and for consumers into the future. So with that, let's look at what's coming out of the news today and let's discuss. Turning to today's news, courtesy of CoinDesk.com, our headline is Ethereum stealing the show at Microsoft's New York City demo day. And so now the Ethereum blockchain was one of the main technologies that was featured at the Microsoft's demo day in New York this week. And at this demo day, there were cutting edge firms working with the computer giant Microsoft on a range of technological solutions. And some of the countries that were showcasing their projects were companies like Bank of America, Mojix, and Webjet. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Mojix or Webjet, but I'm pretty sure that you've heard of Bank of America. And what Marley Gray, who's Microsoft's principal architect in charge of Azul blockchain. Azul blockchain is the Microsoft's take off the Ethereum blockchain. And what Marley Gray is saying is that it's really the potential of each of these diverse industries working together and how each of them communicating on the blockchain and interoperating with one another is really the true potential. So it's not just about one company using one blockchain, it's about all companies communicating with each other instantaneous in real time using this technology. Now, there's a lot of websites out there, and you might know that a lot of these websites use different web technology like HTML and JavaScript. But imagine if all the JavaScript in every single website was able to communicate with every other website in the world that used JavaScript. Right now, that's not exactly how it happens, but with the blockchain technology, every single system can interact and interoperate with every other system that uses the blockchain infrastructure. And Gray told CoinDesk here that once you approach the tipping point where blockchain is using smart contracts and these are tracking the supply chain, that we can have the financing tied to that and have these smart contracts from these different businesses interoperate. And then this creates benefits for early payments, early delivery, benefits for whatever the market wants to reward. So in total, there were about 100 different technologists and analysts and purchasers at this invite-only event. And while there were some technologies that were not based on blockchain, Ethereum was on the show. And what we saw from Ann McCormick, who's Bank of America's Director of Trade and Supply Chain Finance, they presented an updated version of their Ethereum letter of credit, as revealed last September. And this app is being built to help further digitize the still antiquated trade finance process. And the Microsoft Treasury is one of its first testers. So for a business to get a letter of credit is a process that takes several steps. A lot of them are human involved. It takes a lot of time. All that time from people and processes and resources takes a lot of money. And it's a very antiquated way of doing finance in today's world. And so Bank of America recognizes this, and Bank of America is stepping up to be a leader to use blockchain to help the finance and banking system before any other major bank or any other 12-year-old figures out how to do this first. Bank of America wants to lead the way so that they can help guide the future direction of this technology, to help ensure that this technology fits with their systems. And what I recommend to you is that you continue understanding how Bitcoin works and understand how Ethereum works, so you can make sure that the way that their systems work is really going to be beneficial for what's best for you and for what's best for your family. But on a global scale, the Bank of America is a major corporation, and Microsoft is one of its first testers as a major corporation. And once they figure out how this works and if it's working to satisfaction on both ends of that equation, then those systems will be rolled out for businesses on a smaller scale. So Mojix also presented, and they're a company that makes radio frequency identification hardware, and they do data analytics, and they showed their progress on their RFID scanner and how that's integrated with a private version of the Ethereum blockchain. And so that sounds really complicated, but with the RFID scanner integrated with the blockchain, what that's doing is that's going to allow their technology to connect with any sort of device that's already connected to the internet. So you have Siri and Alexa connected to the internet. You have toasters and microwaves and TVs and thermostats and radios and speakers and all sorts of technology that's connected to the internet. And Mojix is helping to integrate these devices on the blockchain. Now, this is a little confusing and a little techy, but I think it's important to realize at the very least that by putting all the devices of the Internet of Things and connecting those all with the blockchain, that really creates a new paradigm where your actual devices will be able to truly trust information. They'll be able to make decisions on their own, knowing what truth is and knowing what trust is and knowing that everyone on the network may be able to trust that. The caveat, when I say trust that, I mean trust the information that they're receiving, that they're making decisions on as they interact with your life, because these are devices that you purchase, that you have in your home, that are connected to your internet, that are connected to your private information. And so with that, if they're using a private version of Ethereum's blockchain, then that's something that you would want to understand. Is it a private version of the blockchain? Is it a public version of the blockchain? What are they doing with your information? What are they doing with your trust? And these are questions that you're going to want to be aware of when this technology is integrated with your home appliances and when your personal appliances and with even the items that your kids purchase. With this blockchain information being written to a blockchain forever, the decisions you do and the things you do, if it's on a private blockchain and you don't know how that information is being recorded, will just could put you at a greater risk, just as much as Bitcoin can free you. Some of these blockchain technologies can actually restrict what we're capable of doing. The third company mentioned, Webjet Limited, is a digital travel firm. And they're working on their pilot with Ethereum. And this is designed to cut down on the time it takes to reconcile hotel room availability around the world. So connecting hotel rooms and their availability, putting that information on the blockchain, and allowing Webjet Limited to have instant access of that information for all these different rooms for everybody instantly all around the world. And so they're positioned as just the improvement to the wholesale B2B hotel booking process as a way to reduce customer reservation errors and to increase efficiencies. And decrease cost. The bigger picture here is that Microsoft is having a huge effect on the way major corporations and startups are looking at technology and interacting with consumers. This demo day had a huge focus on Ethereum, and Microsoft having launched this multi-platform blockchain as a service sandbox as a part of its cloud service Azul in 2015. So they're kicking off all these initiatives with the Microsoft platform, with the Microsoft technology, with the RFID company Mojix, and connecting as a part of a larger effort Microsoft calls the Project Manifest, which is contacted by as many as 13 firms interested in connecting in that project. That Microsoft is having a huge influence on directing the industry, and this is going to have a direct impact on all consumers, just as Microsoft Windows has had a direct impact on all consumers across the entire world. I asked myself, why is Microsoft doing this? Why is Microsoft championing the blockchain technology? And it's because that Microsoft is recognizing an enterprise level issue, an enterprise level opportunity that major companies and most small sized businesses can understand. And this point is that we need to bring all the data together. We need to bring all the information together. We need to bring information from the point of sale, from the supply, from the delivery. And without bringing all the information together and connecting all of it in real time, it's going to be difficult for a company or a person to be able to make the right decision. So what I realize, and what I think we're all going to come to realize, is that businesses will be more and more dependent, more and more reliant on the ecosystem and infrastructures of these different blockchain technologies. There's going to come a point where it's going to be required for businesses to learn about the blockchain and required for them to connect with the blockchain in order to become a part of the infrastructure that companies like Microsoft and Bank of America are laying down the foundation for future businesses to stand upon. The last detail that I just want to sprinkle on top of that is that you have just as much power and you have just as much influence with the information that you have, with the understanding that you have, with the control that you have to own your own keys, to own your own cryptocurrency, to hold your own Bitcoin, to have your own Ethereum, to diversify across these different tokens. So as the system is created, you're rooted in the foundation, you're rooted in the infrastructure, and you actually own keys to what these Fortune 100, these Fortune 5,000, all of these businesses and Ivy League schools are putting together. We are equal participants, even though they have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars more than all of us put together. We are still equal participants in this peer-to-peer distributed ledger blockchain technology. Wow, this is all really interesting. And what's even more interesting is that we see major companies and a major bank leading the way. Now, what we've seen in some of our previous videos is for Bitcoin to take major adoption in a developed world such as Europe or Australia or in the United States of America. It's going to be very, very difficult because of the regulations or because of the existing giants that work in the space, the Wells Fargo and the Bank of Americas in the world. But that's really interesting because in this case, what we see is the Bank of America working directly on the blockchain, on the infrastructure that Microsoft is creating. And what these folks are understanding and what we're seeing in the news is that they understand that there are several different pieces in the total process. So if you are a consortium and you're developing a blockchain that is limited to what some people can see and what some people can access, then it's going to be really difficult for the businesses in the future to have a full understanding without access to that information, without all parties involved having trust in that information. So it makes sense from my point of view to put the trust in the decentralization, because the more centralized we are, the more security that we all have. So the bottom line is this: when Bank of America is successful at creating their products and their services on the public blockchain, then they're going to make their products and their services available to you. And that could be the start of mainstream adoption, where everyone starts to ask, what is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? What is this blockchain technology? And you're here getting this information, learning, and getting ahead of the curve. So I've said it before, I want to say it again. Congratulations for showing up. Congratulations for being an early adopter. With that, we will talk again soon. I have new videos on the way, new information to share with you, so be sure to stick around. Hit that like button if this video helped or inspired you, and be sure to subscribe because we have new videos on the way, new information and new tips coming in that I'm excited to share with you. And with that, have a great day, and I'm glad together we're minting coins.